This is how it is there. Employee name, age of employee, salary of employee, generate payslip. This is how it is coming. Very nice. Good job. Okay. Hope everyone is clear with this. The same thing what we have done. So he has already done the same. We have created the same template as like your student details. So student payslip generate is the one which is creating an object. He's creating individual methods for this and adding all the values. Okay. So if anyone is having a question with the payslip generator, you can refer this folder. Any questions before I go with the next topic? Is everyone so good? Okay. So let us see the concept of validating the data. Okay. In our last class, we are done with writing the piece of code for finding the sum of two values, right? Reading data from elements. This is the one? Yes. But before this, let me finish the events, then I will come to this guy. Using pattern attributes. Okay, so before going for this, I think at that time I was talking about this event, right? So what do you mean by event? Any action being performed on a web page, we call it as an event. It could be click, it could be double click, it could be key up, it could be key press. I mean, anything you press on the key, anything you leave it on it, anytime you do the left click, mouse click on the button, any action what you perform on the page, dragging, dropping, any action what you perform on the page, we call it as a event. Now, what do you mean by event handling? Okay, event is action being performed. Now, what do you mean by event handling? Say, for example, I say input type equal to say some button, value is equal to say some hello, or else I'll say click me. Save this, open in the default browser. I say, okay, this is how it is. Now, when I'm clicking on this button, event is firing. Yes, it is. You see here when I'm clicking on this, yes, event happened. Click event been happened. But do you think any handling is been happened? What do you mean by handling? Once I do the click on this, some job has to come here and get invoked. That is what we call it as a event handling. Event is the action what you perform on the page. Event handling is doing a corresponding job whenever a click event is going to happen, that we call it as a event handling. Now, in order to do this event handling, what I'm going to do, I will say something called as on click. See how many events are there. On can play through, on change, on click, scroll down, FB click. So these all are the n number of events what we have. Okay. Now I say on click equal to say something called a show message. This is the user defined method what I'm calling. Now I say script tag where show message okay, save this guy. When I come back and reload the page, inspect this, go to console. Now when I'm reloading this page, once I'm clicking on this button, then I'm getting this message. Okay. So earlier when I was clicking, nothing, I mean, event is happening, but the corresponding handling was not happening. But now when I'm clicking on this button, corresponding handling is also happening. This is what we call it as a event handling. Action is being performed, corresponding job also which has been happening. Now this event handling can be done in two ways. Event handling can be done in two different ways. One is static event handling, and second thing is dynamic event handling. Okay, one is the static event handling. Second thing is dynamic event handling. So what is the difference between this static and dynamic event handling? When I say static event handling, I could able to say what is the method which is getting invoked and what type of event directly to the HTML element itself. Okay, directly to the HTML element itself. You're saying that what is the type of event and what is the method which need to be invoked here. You're saying that on click is the event and this is the method which need to get invoked. Are we clear? Okay. Now, what do you mean by this dynamic event handling? Dynamically, I'm going to tell to this button. I'm not going to say like this, but instead, I say I'm not going to keep this on click over here, but I'm going to specify the event type dynamically through JavaScript. So how I'm going to do? I say document dot query selector hash. You need to identify this button. Right now, I don't have anything. I can simply say input. Can I? In general, it is not recommended if you have multiple elements. But right now, I have only one input element. So I'm not putting any ID and all directly based on the tag I'm doing. So for this guy, you have a predefined method, something called as add event listener. I mean, for this particular DOM element, when a particular event is happening, what is the listener which need to get invoked? How I'm going to do this? This guy is taking two parameters. The first parameter is what type of event it is, and second parameter is what is the method which need to get invoked. Am I clear? I'm finding the element called as document. I'm finding this element called as a guy who is having an ID called as input. And on the top, I'm adding a listener to this guy. And what type of listener it is? Click listener. And what is the callback method which need to get invoked? Okay. So now I take out this show message and I invoke here like this. Now, if you save it, come back and reload the page. When I'm clicking here, the same event is happening. So earlier also it was happening, but earlier it was a static event handling. To the HTML element itself, we are going to specify what is the type of event and what is the callback method. Whereas coming to this dynamic, it is that we are finding the element dynamically and adding the listener, finding out, we are specifying the type of event and the callback method. Now, if I ask you a question, which one is easy, static or dynamic? Which one is easy? Static is easy, right? Directly to the HTML itself, you can directly say this. But which one? Then why the reason we are going with the dynamic? The reason why we go with the dynamic is, what if I'm creating the elements dynamically? What if this button itself has to get created dynamically? So in that case, I need to add the listener also dynamically. For example, you see here, I'm going to create var div tag. And one more thing, is this click method can only be added for the button, or I can add it for span tag also? Any HTML element can take this. But yes, there are some events like on key press. It cannot be added to the div tag. It can be added only for the text box. But when I say mouse over, at the same time, click action, double click action, these all can be added, not only for the input elements. Okay, it can be added for any of the input elements. Just give me a second. Any element, any HTML element, click action can be done. Select option, you can go for. Drop down also is an element, right? But in general, for drop down, we go with on change, because when we change the value of that element, then the on change will be fired. Okay. So any type of event can be added. Now I say, for example, div tag equal to document dot. How do you create a DOM element? Create element. Okay. Document dot create element, div tag. And I say for this div tag, I'm going to say dot inner text is equal to say some hello. And I want to add an event for this on click event. Now what I need to do here, I can't say that on click equal to so and so because there is a static element. Now what is the only option I have? I need to say that this div tag dot add event listener. I'll say something called as click. I'll go with a callback method. Everybody knows what you mean by callback method? The method which is getting fired automatically when a particular job happens. You are not manually calling. If I do this guy like this, say for example, if I call this show message like this, is it a callback method? No, manually you are invoking this guy. But this guy, when I'm saying this callback method, right, this is a callback automatically getting invoked when an action happens. Now I say console.log click happened on div tag. Okay, save this guy. And this div tag, let me append to some other guy. I say some paragraph tag. I will say document dot query selector paragraph tag dot append this div tag. Save this, come back and reload. See, when I'm clicking this guy, is the event is happening, boss? So on click of div tag, the event is happening. So that is called as dynamic event handling. So not every time you can go with the static event handling. If the element is a static element, okay, you can add the static event. But if the element is getting created dynamically, then only option what you have is dynamic event handling. Document dot get element by ID so and so dot add event listener, which is taking two predefined property. Two parameters, mandatory or two. The third one is also there. One is a Boolean value, which will tell you whether it is even bubbling or capturing. We will go for that. But for now, it is taking two parameters. One is type of event. Right now, it is click. Now, if you say something called as blur, okay, in the same way, you can go for change. Okay, not blur actually, hover. Okay, for example, I go with hover. See, whenever I'm mouse hovering on this, not hover, mouse over, right? Okay, now once I reload this case, see here, whenever I'm mouse hovering on this button, event is firing there without clicking. So like this, you can simply change the type of event, key up, key down, key press, whatever the events we have, you can simply mention that events are here. Are we clear? Okay, so this is what we call it as static event handling and dynamic event handling. Static event handling, we have attributes. Like say something called, if I say on, see here on about, on can play, on click, these all are the list of events what you can go for. On key up, on key down, on key press. I mean, these all are the n number of events. For any DOM element, you can simply mention that. Okay. Now, another thing what I have is, whenever an event is happening, say for example, add event listener, mouse over event is happening. Anytime an event is happening, you should able to catch a method or an object, or else I'll go with the validation, then I will tell you. A simple example where I have a message called as click, and whenever user is clicking on this guy, I'm getting a message called as click happened. Understand the code here? Very simple. On click equal to, you are specifying the method, and that method is invoked here. Clear, everyone? Okay. Now on the top, anytime any action being happens on the web page, we are calling it as a event. Now, any event happens on the web page, we are going to catch a predefined object, something called as event object. Any action what happens on the page, When the action happens, internally browser is going to create a predefined object, which we call it as event object for every different event. Now you do a click event, event object will be created. You do a double click, event object will be created. You do a hover, event object will be created. You do mouse over, mouse up, mouse down. Any event happens on any of the DOM element, I am automatically creating an object called as event object. Am I clear? Now, what is the use of this event object? Let us have a look over here. Now, once I'm calling this guy, once I'm passing this, I need to catch it. Now, let us see what actually this event object is having. Okay, the event object will be having, see, whenever I'm clicking on this, event object been created. Now, once I expand this guy holds extra information regarding the event which been just happened. Okay, what action been happened regarding that, the extra information will be holded under the event object. Like, are you pressing Alt key when you're pressing the event? No, boss. In the same way, what is the altitude angle? These are not much useful. On the top, there is something called as, what is the type of pointer? It is a mouse pointer. And what type of event which is fired there? Click type of event which is fired. Timestamp, at what time the event been fired. At the same time, there is something called as a path. What happened? Source element. See here, what is the source element? This is the div tag. For example, this div is having an ID equal to, say, some test. See here, reload the page. Once I click on this, see, when I see the source element, what is the element on which the event got fired, boss? A div tag who is having an ID called as test. That guy on the top with the event got fired. Okay, in the same way, screen X and screen Y. What was the location of your pointer? This pointer XY location, where it was when the event got fired. These all are the extra information what is available whenever event gets fired. If you ask me a question, what we will do with this? I'm going to show you. First of all, understand that extra information, or by default, are we creating this event object? No. And first of all, can I call this as an object? Can I call this as an object? All the data is in the form of key and value pairs, boss. That is a JSON object. Now, by default, it is getting created. Doesn't matter what type of event it is. For example, instead of on click, I say on mouse over. Okay, on mouse over I'm doing. Now, when I'm reloading the page, when I hover on this, event got fired. See, mouse event got fired. And what is the type of event? Mouse over type of event. What time, what path, every other extra information will be available under the event object. For any event, now say, for example, this is a div guy. There is, I say input, type equal to, say, some button, value equal to click me. I say on click. On click is equal to show data. Again, I'm catching the event object. Now I copy this. Okay, so I have this button on click show data. For now, I'm not doing this. Now, when I save this, come back and reload. Once I say click me, from button is getting clicked. When I hover on this, mouse over event is happening. Now, if you see here under this show data on click, am I catching this event object? It is not mandatory to catch the event object. Now, when I'm not catching is the event object is not created, it is not getting created until and unless you make use of it. If you're making use of it, I'm going to create it, then it is available for you. Okay. If at all, say, for example, I want that event object, then you can simply say catch here. You can simply pass it here. Now, if I console this guy, event, reload the page. Now, once I click on this, now I have my event object. When I hover on this, I have other event. This guy is a pointer event. See, this is a click event where the other guy is a mouse over event. See, for each and every element, the event object is getting created. It is up to you, make use of it or not make use of it. Are we clear? So event is one of the predefined object which gets created every time an action happens on the web page, which will be having the extra information of the current event being generated. Any questions? Clear, everyone? Okay. Now I want to make use of this event object in order to do some validation. Where I'm doing these examples? Trendy fashion store routes I'm adding. Okay, so this is the example what we have done already, guys. Say, for example, enter the first value. I'm going to give some value, enter the second value. When I click on get some, this is how it is showing us the values. Any questions? Fine. Now, my requirement is when the user gives the numeric values, application could able to process it and it is showing us the values. Now, what if user is having, the keyboard is under user hand. What if user is giving some characters? What if user is trying to give some special symbols? Okay. Now, once I click on get some, is it not going to come get some? When I click on get some, you're getting it as NaN. Full form of NaN? Not a number. Obviously, anytime you're performing some mathematical operation on non-integers or non-decimals, then it is going to throw this type of error. Fine. Now, how I'm going to stop the user? One way what I have is, there is an option, something called something called instead of input type. What is this? Is the example? Yeah, one option what I have is instead of input type text, you say something called as input type number. But for now, we haven't gone to the number because we haven't covered the HTML5. We are still into the HTML4 itself. HTML4 and CSS2 we are looking into. When I come to the HTML5, then we have something called as input type equal to number. But for now, assume I have only input type equal to text. Now my requirement is I want to stop the user to not to enter the characters, to not to enter the special symbols and all. So how do I get to know how I'm going to do this? How I'm going to do some validation here? This is what we call it as data validation, guys. What do you mean by data validation? Anytime, any data, what user is entering, you cannot trust the end user. Okay, for example, this is the web page what I'm giving. Now, user is giving something called as 45 and so. Your application works so super fine. But the problem is you cannot trust the end user because the keyboard is in his hand. He can give anything. He can give some junk data. He can give some characters. He can give some symbols. Anything he can give it. But once he is giving some etc. thing, now you cannot say, why this guy is not. Why refresh? Not needed, right? I'm giving some so value. For example, if I give 34, get some, it is happening. Now, when I'm giving some 88, get some, it is happening. Now, when I'm giving some symbols, what happened, boss? Document.query selector. Oh, I'm doing the parsing, but at this place itself, it has to throw me an error. Anyway, we'll see that. Now, what I want to do is I want the user, I mean, I cannot trust the end user. He can give anything he wanted. But now I would like to stop the user to not to enter these type of data. So how I'm going to do this? So I will be making use of the event object in order to do this. So let's have a look, guys. So this is a bit of tricky part. Put some extra attention. What are the steps we are doing? So in order to validate this data, first thing what I'm going to do is I am going to put a method called as on key up. What do you mean by on key up? There is two events whenever you do the key here, on key press and on key up. When the key is getting in, we call it as key press. When the key is coming up, we call it as a key up. Now I want to do the validation when the key is coming up, because when the key is coming up, that is where we get to know that character has been entered. Now I say on key up equal to validate user data, a simple method I'm calling. Let us see what actually these guys is going to do. I say validate user data. I say console.log key press happen. Any questions? Now when I save this guy, come back and reload the page. I'm adding the first value. See here, I'm saying 1. Is the key press happening? So any number of times I'm doing the key press event is happening. 27 characters I have added, 27 times the key press event is happening. Any questions up to this? Clear step 1? Okay, I could able to invoke a method, whether it is, whether it is a character, whatever the key press you are doing, it is just invoking. What I will do is, from this method, I will say return false. From this method, whatever the method which is getting fired on key press, I'm going to return false from this. And obviously this guy will be false. And now I will say this, or else we'll do one thing. I'll remove this guy. I will say return false here. On key up, I'm giving a key called as return false. Okay. Now when I'm saving this guy, come back over here, reload the page. This guy is having on key up as that method, and that guy is returning false. You see here the advantage is I am trying to press something, but it is allowing. Why so? On key up, right? Sorry. Function, it's fine, but I have returned over here itself, right? It should work. When I say return false, is it as key up? Yeah, actually it is on key press. I mean, at the time of character press itself, I need to stop the user. Now, if you see here, I have added key up and I'm trying to enter the keys here. Is it is allowing me to enter something? No. Okay. Now, when I say return true. Okay. When I'm returning true here, reload the page. Now you press something. Is it is allowing me to do? Simple logic here. Whenever you are doing a key press, if you return true, it will allow you to add the character. If you return false, it doesn't allow you to add the character. Are you clear with this? Everyone, on key press, if you return true, that guy will allow you to add some characters. On key press, if you're returning false, that guy will not allow you to enter any type of character. Everyone so clear? Now, instead of returning this guy here itself, I will say return validate user data. Internally, from this guy, I will say return false. Obviously, whatever the value he will return, that return false will go over here. Now, when I save it, come back and reload. See, I'm pressing. Don't. Where? Okay, once I reload this, see, key press is happening. See, when I'm seeing here, the key press is happening, but is it allowing me to add the character? Is it allowing me to do this? No. Just give me a second, guys. Yeah. So what actually we see here is, sorry guys. Yeah. So we have something. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So the first value I'm giving here, I'm trying to enter some characters. You see the key press is happening on the, I mean, the method is getting invoked, but this input element is not allowing you to enter any character. That is fine. But what if like this guy is returning true? Save this and reload the page. Now you add anything. Now it is allowing you to, I mean, now it is showing the message there. So this is what we call it as validate. I mean, I'm not at valid the validation, but the simple logic, what we find is any method which is getting called on key press, if I could able to return true, then he is allowing you to enter that character. If you are returning false, that is not allowing you to add the character. A simple logic. Any questions up to this? Clear? Now, the condition what I want to do over here is, I want to say if user entered character is a number, return true, else return false. Is my logic will be fine now? What I will be doing is, if the user is pressing A, obviously A is not a number, I need to return false. Don't allow the user to press A. For example, I'm pressing something called as 5. It is a number, then it will be returned true, you will be allowed. This is the logic I have to add, guys. So that your text box will be enough intelligent to understand whether it is a number. If it is a number, it will allow you to enter. If it is not a number, it is even not going to allow you to enter that guy. Any questions? Understood logic? Now, the question or the challenging part what you have is, how do you know that what character user has entered? Whether user has entered A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4 special symbols, how do you get to know this? That is where I will be using the event object. For now, let me comment out this guy. Okay, I'm going to catch the event object. We already know event object also will be fired on case of key press. Now I say event object, I'm going to catch this guy. I'll put this guy. Okay, now I say console dot log event object. Okay, let us see what actually happening. When I reload this guy, you see here, when I'm pressing small a, keyboard event happened. Any extra information like control has been pressed or not, alt key has been pressed or not, what is the key which is being pressed, and what type of event it is, whether shift is being pressed or not, what is the source element. You see target element. Target element means on which element the event got fired. There is something called as a path, man. Why it is missing? GHIJKLMNOP. There should be something called as a path which will tell you what is the source of this. I think from the retest they have removed it. Under this base URI is this. Do you see any path? Okay, anyway, it's not useful now, but there should be something like this. Okay, so when I'm pressing something called as small a here, see when I'm pressing small a, I'm having the keyboard event with all the extra information. What is the key, what user has pressed? It is a character. Now, on the top, there is something called as char code also. So what do you mean by this char code? Char code or key code, both are going to be same. Now it is called as 97. What is this 97? ASCII value. If you remember, we discussed about this ASCII value, American Standard Code of Information Interchange, and which is going to be every key, whatever you have inside your keyword, the keyboard, you will be assigned with a numeric value internally. When you go with system doesn't store A as a A. A value will be taken as 97. It will be converted into binary codes. That is how it is going to store internally, isn't it? So the same thing we are going to take here. What I want to do is I'm getting the key code also here. If it is A, 97. If it is Z guy, then the key character code is 122. Can I simply put this logic? If the character code, whatever user has entered, is between 97 and 122, return false. So that it is between small a to small z, isn't it? Now, can I do something like this? I will say here, whatever this user entered character or not, right? This logic, I will say event dot char code is greater than equal to 97 and event dot char code is less than equal to 122. Return false. I need to do. I'll come for that. I'll come for that. Now, sorry. Yeah, that will be done. That's what I'll be showing you. Now, when I say character code greater than equal to 97 and less than equal to 122, can I simply say that he is a small characters, lowercase characters, right? Now, when I save it, come back and reload the page. See here, I'm pressing this small a, small z, etc. things and all. Event is firing on the right side, but you don't allow the user to enter it. So you're not even allowing the user to enter this. Instead of user giving the characters, you read it out, let him know that boss, it should not add characters. Instead of doing this, when you know that only numbers are allowed, why don't you add these type of validations? Okay. But the problem is now when I say A to Z, that is fine. But if I give uppercase, it is allowing. If I give special symbols, it is allowing. Now what I need to do? Do I need to put a condition for uppercase also? For example, uppercase, what is the character code? 65. When I say small z, sorry, uppercase Z. Now, when I go here, it is going to be 90. Now, do I need to put another condition? 65 to 90. Again, you return as false. Otherwise, return as true. Again, if that is the case, again, do I need to handle for special symbols also? You know, even for special symbols also, character code will be there. See, I'm putting exclamatory mark. What is the char code for this guy? 33. When I say at the rate, the char code of that guy will be 64. When I say something called as hash, char code of this guy will be 35. So like this, even for the special symbols also, we have a char code. Now, the question is, I should only allow numbers. Instead of checking the condition for uppercase, lowercase, special symbols, why don't you check for numbers? If it is numbers, allow it. Other than that, you remove it. And the special thing what we have is, even for numbers also, we have the character code. You see, when I'm entering 0, see what is the character code we have? 48. When I say 1, what is the character code we have? It is 49. Now, when I say 9, you see what is the character code we have? 57. So 48 to 57 is equal to numbers. Now, instead of writing this guy, can I say if it is greater than equal to 48 and less than equal to 57, return true. Other than that, return false. Done, boss. Isn't it? Now, when I save it, come back and reload this guy. Now I say the first value. You see, I'm adding characters, I'm adding special symbols, not at all allowing. You add numbers, then it is allowing for you. This is what we call it as validating the user data. Any input what user is giving, if we could able to check that whether it is in a valid state or not, valid condition or not, that is what we call it as data validation or input, user input validations. Are we clear? Understood, everyone? Online students, are we good? Okay. Now, can I take the same input method, same validation method? Can I put the same guy even for the second input element? Same validations, right? Now, when I save it, come back and reload this guy. Now, if you see, I'm adding the numbers. No, I'm adding characters, not allowing, but I'm adding numbers. It is allowing like this. Okay. Now, I want you to go with the student details progress card generator, whatever we have done yesterday. Okay. Now, can you put some validation? You see, there are some issues with that yesterday's example. So under this progress car generator, under your name, do you allow numbers? You should not. Okay. Can I put some validation here? For name, only characters. Age, I give some characters. Is it allowing? Yes, it should not allow it. Can you add some validation for this? Yes. And when I come to the marks, the maximum mark should be only 100. Okay. It cannot be greater than 100. At the same time, it should not allow characters or symbols. Can you put these validations? Everyone. Okay. Try to do this assignment. Okay. And one more thing what we have is validation. Okay. I want to create another assignment, guys. I'm going to give an assignment. I will partially do this assignment. 20% of the job I'll do, remaining 80%, you can do this. This is one of the password validation. Very, very important part. Okay, this is how I wanted this assignment, guys, where user has to provide the account ID and user has to provide the password. Now, when I'm giving the password, these all are the validations I need to check. Every password should have minimum 8 characters. It should be having minimum 2 numbers here. Should have 2 special symbols. Should not start with so and so, so and so. These are the conditions I have. Now, when this condition is matching, when the user is entering this guy, if the condition is matching, it has to automatically turn into green color. Okay, so how do we do this? Okay, let me do the first part. Minimum length should be 8 characters. Okay, what I'm going to do is for this guy, I say on key press is equal to check, sorry, validate password. Okay, I say var validate password is equal to so and so. So whenever user is pressing some this, now I say var user value or user input password is equal to document dot query selector hash account password dot value, right? This is how I'm reading the data. Let us show what actually we are reading. Console.log user. Anyway, we want the event object. I'm even catching that guy, event object over here and over here. Okay, I'm passing this guy at the time of key press and I'm catching this guy here. Save this and reload the page. Inspect this. Right now it is not responsive, right? So it is breaking minimum. Okay, so what I want to do here is when I'm giving this password, see here, I'm pressing yes, nothing is coming. Why so? I did on key press, validate password. I need to give this guy, right? And I'm entering into the password only. And it should be input type equal to password. Why this is not happening? Am I looking into the same code? Oh, on C key press, what is this? This is on key press, right? Reload this guy. See, whenever I'm entering this, see the problem what you have with your key press is on first key press, it will not come. See, first time I press A, it has not come because key press is when I'm pressing by that then the character not at press. Only on key up, the character will be pressed here. So now what I need to do is I need to put some on key up also here. On key up equal to, or else let's change this guy itself. On key up equal to so and so, reload the page. When I'm pressing this, see whatever user is giving, this is what I'm getting. Now what I will do is I will say for this minimum length, I will put a class min length. Okay, now what I'm going to do, if at all, user input password dot length is greater than equal to 8. And one more thing is, I need to stop the user for maximum length of 10 characters. Now I say max hyphen length equal to 10. So maximum password you can give is 10 characters. Minimally, you need to have 8 characters. Now I see if the user input password dot length is greater than equal to 8, I need to find out this guy. I say document dot query selector dot minimum length dot style dot color is equal to green. If this is not the case, I will say this guy as red. Okay, save this guy, reload the page. See the logic over here. I say password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. When it is 8, automatically turning into green color. When I remove one character, automatically turning into red color. It is not actually automatically, we have added the logic in such a way. So every time user is pressing the key, I'm taking the key and I'm checking the total length here. When one of this condition is matching, I'm simply saying that you turn into green color. Are we clear? Understood everyone? Simple logic, guys. If you really understand, nothing is happening automatically. At the background, you have added the logic in such a way that, okay, see here, when I'm pressing something, it will automatically it is turning into green color when I'm removing this, because on each and every key press, it is coming here. It is checking that boss whether it is valid or not. Okay. In the same way, how do you get to know that whether numbers are being added or not? It should have minimally 2 numbers. I'm saying minimum 2 numbers I wanted. So how do I do that? Again, ASCII value I can go with. What I will do is I will say where number count equal to 0. Initially, number count should be 0. Okay. Now, when I will be increasing this number count, if at all, the event dot char code. We already seen this. Character code is greater than equal to 47 and event dot char code is less than equal to 58. In this case, is it 58 or 57? 48 and 57, right? 48 and 57, because I'm considering only 0 to 9. Okay. Now, if this is the case, can I say number count plus plus, which will tell me how many numbers user has entered? Now, after this guy, I will check for this condition. If my number count is greater than equal to 2, isn't it? And one more thing, if this is not the case, okay, fine, I'll check, I'll come to that logic. If the number count is greater than equal to 2, what I need to do? I need to put some another class for this guy. I say class number count. Number count I'm giving this guy. Then I'll say document dot query selector dot number count dot style dot color is equal to green. Else this guy is red color. Let us see this guy whether it is happening or not. You see, password I'm giving a 5 characters and so not happening. Why so? Number count plus plus is not happening. Let us see this guy. And let us see the char code also. What is the char code we are getting? Or else, instead of console, we know the debugging. Debugging is more better. I'll go for that. I'll say 1. I'll say, see here, when I'm pressing 3, number count is so and so. Now when I'm setting 5, number count is 0. Why so? Implies it is not going into this guy. Why so? The character code, one thing, why this character code is coming as 0? event. Let us see what is this event object. When I'm pressing 3, char code is coming as 0. Oh my God. You see, the problem is if it is character, char code is coming as 0, but key code is giving you the ASCII code. Got it? If it is characters, character code is coming, key code is coming. But if see here, for example, if I say small a, see, char code is, we just saw that, right? Char code was coming. Yes or no? We just saw that, right? Char code was coming. It's fine. Anyway, key code is coming. So can I copy this key code and can I make use of the key code here instead of character code? Okay, now I come back and reload. See, password, I say 1, 2, number count is still 0. Why my key code is coming 68? Man, okay, I'm giving numbers. Okay, I'm giving characters. Now when I give 4, my number count has become 1. When I give another thing, now my number count has become 1. Now this guy has been pressed. Now if I give 8 characters, these 2 are coming into so and so. Am I clear? Okay. Now, can you do the conditions? Now, how do you find out the special symbols? How do you find out this uppercase characters, minimum of 2 lowercase characters? Can you do this? But one challenging part, what you see here is, for example, if I do minus, if I'm removing this guy, you see, minimum 2 characters is still there. So you need to have a logic of decrementing that number of count value. When I'm pressing a number, you are incrementing that guy. Now, when I'm deleting it, you need to decrement that guy also, right? Yes or no? You need to do that. Try to do that logic. If it's not coming, let me know. I'm going to solve all that. Okay. But if you could able to do this guy, you will be strong on your data validations. Any type of validation you could able to do that. There is another validation which is using the patterns also, guys. For that, you need to know the regular expressions. Like, for example, I want to see that whether it is a valid phone number or not, valid email or not. We'll see that later. Okay. So make sure everybody does this example. Okay. And one more thing, guys, you see, you will be having n number of conditions like document.query selector, color, green, etc. and all. Instead of repeating this piece of code, you can put some common function where apply color based on type. Okay, it is better that you go with a method instead of repeating. Now what I'll do is, for this guy, you just give the selector comma value is valid. Now what you can do is, you can simply do this guy here. If is valid, this select SELECT selector dot so and so, and this selector dot so and so. The advantage is, so here you don't need to call this guy. You can simply say type, what is the selector, comma, this condition also you can pass it here. Can I do this instead of doing this? So what I'm saying, I'm simply calling this guy. This guy will take care of, you tell him what is the one which need to highlight or unhighlight, and what is the true or false. If it is true, he will make it as green. If it is false, he'll make it as red. Got it? The same thing can be done over here also. So here, instead of writing these many if conditions, I'll say so and so. What is my selector now? It is dot number count, and this guy is number count greater than 2. But I'm not sure whether I can pass this parameter or not. Let me check that. Yes. Now, when I see here, I'm entering something, it is turning into green color. So the advantage is We are not repeating this piece of code. Now you'll be having 100 condition. 100 time I can't say so and so, green, red, and all. Instead of that, I have written a common method. For this guy, anytime you want to invoke, you simply call this method with what is the selector and what is the true or false. If it is true, I will make it green. If it is false, I'll make it red. As simple as it is. Can I expect everyone try on this? Sorry. Which one? Come on, you tell me. Is this method is predefined or user defined? The method, right? I mean, apply color. Predefined, right? Predefined, right? User defined, right? We are defining this. When we are defining this method, I'm taking my own custom parameters. Instead of selector, I say ABC, PQR. It's up to you. Just a reference. Now, anyone looks into this, they will say that, okay, apply color based on type. This method is doing some color change based on the type. Now, what are the parameters it is taking? Selector. Selector is hash ID, ABC, PQR class, tag name. Any selector you tell me, and you tell me a Boolean value. For that guy, I will change the color. You yourself, it is clearly here, right? For example, these are the 5 statements what I'm writing. Instead of this, I am doing this only a single method. Here also I was using this. Instead of this, I can do by this itself. Now in future, you'll be having 100 conditions. I don't need to, if I don't need to do this, I have written a common method for this. Okay. Everyone so clear up to this? Okay. Someone asked the question, Satish, can we use the looping instead of that? Why we used to use the looping, Satish? Here we don't need to use the looping, right? We are not repeating anything here. Okay, instead of repeating. And another thing is, can you explain line number 69, Hamlata? 69, where is 69? Yeah, Hamlata, what I'm doing is, my requirement is, when I reload this guy, how can I highlight this should have minimum 2 numbers? So how do I get to know that, boss, minimally user already entered 2 numbers? What I need to do, whatever the character user is pressing, I need to find out whether it is a number or a character. And based on that, I need to add some incrementer. That is what I'm doing. Whatever the character user is pressing here, if the key code is greater than equal to 48 and less than equal to 58. What do you mean by this? 0 to 9. 0 key code is 48, 1 key code is 49, 2 key code is 50, 9 key code is 58. So if anything between 48 to 58, I know that it's a number and I'm saying number count plus plus. Hope I'm clear, Hamlata. Akash, all selectors are predefined? No, Akash. These selector, do you think whatever you are passing here, minimum dot minimum length and dot num count, is it user defined or predefined? Now here I say num count, right? For example, where is this HTML? And another thing, right now I'm putting the HTML and JavaScript here. Do you recommend this? No, keep this JavaScript away out of it. Now, for example, for this num count, I say ID equal to. Then what I'll say? Here also, I will be passing it as hash num count. Okay, selectors are not predefined. And someone was asking a question, can I use regular expression here? Here you cannot use of this regular expression. Regular expression is only used for patterns. Okay, say for example, one password is having 2 numbers and 1 special symbol and 2 characters, 1 uppercase. Do you think that everyone will say that first 2 characters are numbers, second 3 characters are no, right? It could be anywhere. The jumbling, it could be anywhere within your password, isn't it? But if I say that password should start with uppercase, immediately it has to start with 2 numbers. Later it need to have 2 uppercase. Then in that case, you can go with the regular expression. That is a pattern, like email ID. Anything you have @ some characters dot something. So that is a pattern, doesn't change. But when I say this password, these are like custom validations need to be done, because special symbol can be anywhere within the password. Uppercase can be anywhere. Number can be anywhere. Okay. So make sure everybody does this validation, guys. Can you explain again line number 73? Sure. What is 73 we have added? Okay. Okay, Rohit, what I'm doing is I want one of the method. What this method will tell is, give me the element and whether it is true or false. Okay. What these guy will do, element in the sense, it could be div element, it could be ID ABC, it could be PQR. If it is true, I will make him green. If it is false, I will make him red. This is the method what I want to write. A common method. Okay, the method is capable of, you tell me which thing, you tell me what color, I will apply. Let us take a practical example, guys. Say, for example, I have my office boy. Okay, for my office boy, I need to tell him that, boss, okay, or else say, for example, for each and every student, I need to give some book and a pen. Okay, for each and every student, I need to identify based on some roll numbers, 28 roll number. Identify him, give the book and pen. 26 roll number, identify him and give me the pen, like this. Now, instead of me doing this, what I will do, I will take my office boy. He is a function. Now, I will tell him that your responsibility is give a pen and book to the student what I tell to you. Are we clear? Okay. Now, what is the parameter I'm passing to him? I need to pass him the roll number. He will automatically give the book and pen to him, isn't it? So the advantage what I'm getting is I'm not doing the job. That function is doing the job for me. But for that function, I need to pass the parameters. Give me the parameters like gender or what type of book it is. Accordingly, he will do the job. I'm not going to do the job. That is what I'm doing. So here, if you see, this method is simply responsible for give me what DOM element, what condition I need to go for. That's it. Okay. You tell me what DOM element selector. It could be hash ABC. It could be .pqr. It could be div tag, anything you tell me. And you tell me whether it is true or false. If it is true, I will make him green. If it is false, I'll make him red. Okay. That is what I'm doing at line number 63. What I'm saying, obviously the element is minimum element, which is having a class called as min length. And what is the selector? Obviously, how do I say whether it is true or false? If the user input password is greater than equal to 8, that will become true. Otherwise, it will become false. Now, this guy will become as false. Accordingly, he will do the job. And here also, this guy, number count greater than equal to 2. I'm passing it as true or false. Hope I'm clear, Rohit. Okay. Any more questions, guys, with this validations? Now you can check for, even here, you need to put another validation. For example, I'm giving some password and re-enter, I'm giving some wrong password. You need to put a condition saying that, boss, the password is not matching. Okay. And one more thing, what you can do is you can make this register button itself as a disabled. Disabled. See, right now it is disabled. That guy should only be enabled after you enter a valid password. What you need to do, find out this element, remove the attribute called as disabled, only if all the validations are true. Okay, so you need to do all this stuff, guys. On this example itself, all the validations you can apply. Okay, if it is working, then you can take the same validations for our student progress card generator or for the employee payslip generator. What is our next topic, guys, according to the notes? I think product details I haven't shown you, right? How do you make the product details dynamically? Okay, so I will pause it for today. Tomorrow we'll catch up. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about like how do you take a individual product details and how do you render the details dynamically? I'm going to show it in the tomorrow's class. Have a good day. Bye for today.